Hello and welcome to the AEW Summer Blockbuster preview. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by fellow Dudley boy Michael Hamflett to preview everything. Well, maybe not everything on Collision. That's in store for us on tonight's show. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have wrestling interviews on occasion. We host roundtable discussions. We answer your wrestling questions. And we host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. Hamflett, what are your broad thoughts?
Sidge, my broad thoughts are, I understand that there are two wrestlers. I think one's called Colin Omega. I think one's called Kazuchika Okada. And I don't know these guys, right? If only there was a video package to explain to me who they are, why they are, and what this match is all about. But I'm never going to get that in AEW.
Well, you're in luck, pal.
What?
Because they're actually screening a video package that will chronicle the rivalry.
Thank God I can enjoy this then.
Ahead of the contract signing. No, it's well overdue.
Yeah.
So in this specific context, and yes, they have been working partners with New Japan Pro Wrestling officially since, 2021?
Yeah, well, yeah. 2020 was it Tanahashi rocking up for the Jericho thing? And I was like,
something might be happening.
Yeah,
And then the need to do Kenta versus Mox and the idea that it could only be done on American soil.
Yeah.
Opened the forbidden door and all the rest of it.
Damn.
So they've got the footage, and they apparently are going to screen the footage, highlight it. So someone suggested, and Tony Khan's daft enough to pay for it. I'm assuming ABBA don't come cheap. The winner takes it all.
Oh, nice.
I don't think this is actually going to happen, but I like the idea a lot. They should definitely license a bit of music. The more iconic, the better. This
November
video
Rain
package
went down well, didn't it, the other year?
So well that it completely, not for me, but it obscured to a lot of people how poor the television was.
Yeah.
It made Full Gear seem like the end of the world. And it's like, well, it is the end of the world, but not because you must be there.
Yeah.
But because it feels like AEW is just never going to get good again. But we are in a position where it's getting very good again in the eyes of many. So yes, Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada are going to sign the contract. Before we get into we know you're a big fan of video packages. Explain why it's important in this specific context and what song you would pick.
Oh, what song? That's pressure. I need some time with that one. The video package for this in particular is, it's pressure on whoever's making this, by the way. Kyle O'Reilly has been a busy boy, I imagine, these last 7 years, getting the footage together. I think it's possibly the single most important video package AEW ever made. We did a Q&A recently, and we could barely summon 5 in the company's history that have really summed up the great moments, the great feuds, and those feuds have actually taken place within AEW. So a lot of fans have made them themselves. A lot of very talented video editors, such as our very own producer, Adam Nicholas, has contributed to the culture by making these video packages that get shared around in place of AEW. Fans can't do that for New Japan, otherwise they get their accounts banned.
Yes.
They get the YouTube channels
AEW might be in trouble.
So AEW
might be in trouble here.
AEW need to do this because fans aren't allowed. And all that kind of stuff aside, they being AEW here are promoting, they're preaching to the converted in terms of promoting Kazuchika Okada, Kenny Omega. We get to luxuriate in the lore of it. We get to celebrate, Tony Khan's personal and professional win that he finally gets to promote this match. He's been desperate to promote a match that he tried to get out at Wembley, a match that almost occurred at Madison Square Garden, and he's going to get it under an AEW banner, the biggest AEW banner of 2025. I don't think the AEW core need anything on Omega Okada. I'll be honest. I think it's one of those things that is in the DNA of AEW in the same way Cody Rhodes is, and he's nothing to do with the company anymore. It exists as this. I think you've made this point before. There's a couple of kind of day ones for AEW, and Wrestle Kingdom with Omega Okada 1 is one of those day ones.
That for me was the best illustration imaginable of the idea that not only is the wrestling vastly superior to WWE, but the specific Wrestle Kingdom stage with its incredible production values and you know, Omega had that like a WrestleMania-sized entrance, and it's nothing new. Like, to be honest, like if you look at the Big Egg Wrestling Universe entrances, they got big stadium entrances before WWE was popular enough to frequently hold WrestleMania in stadiums, you know?
Yeah,
it was synonymous with WrestleMania and them doing, hang on, this is WrestleMania scale, and it's like 50 times better in the ring. Something's happening.
Something's happening, yeah. And the reach of that was notable, wasn't it? I remember like Omega had already, he'd captured me the prior summer, and it was like there was definitely a capturing of people that match. No, the video package is important for me here because I think that it is a very tactical approach to getting people hyped for this match. And it's nothing really to do with Omega and Okada today. The fans that are most invested in this, the ones that have already bought tickets to All In or will be buying in emotionally and financially to this pay-per-view in the summer, will know the law and will have seen the matches. The casual fan, the casual observer, will infer, I think, from me, like they will talk this good game, they will talk these legacy rivals, the history that you've already seen. The second the two of them faced off on screen with the All-In banner behind it the first time, there was enough inference there that this is the dance. But I think the video package tonight, what it might actively serve to do is encourage the people who are already fully aware that lived through those matches once upon a time to brave watching them again. I think these exist in clip form, in well-edited together little moments that show you there's some stuff that they're going to call back to here to encourage the likes of you and I to think, oh, it's pretty intimidating to think about watching those 4 matches, but I should do this.
Yeah.
I think it's going to send us all. This video package has the chance to be so effective that it's going to take all of us with all of our different amounts of free time and different amounts of personal time that we can commit to a series as deep and as layered as Omega Okada and dense, and actually take the time outside of AEW to watch them again.
So then you can understand the callbacks and the
quick clips, the effective, like, it's going to be longer than a minute, but the effective TikTokification of this rivalry, as told on Dynamite tonight, stands the chance of making us all go and do the biggest piece of homework. I think a lot of us, even as people that love it, might put off. I think this video package is going to encourage a lot of people to go and do the homework. And it's to enhance the experience, not to like invent it for people.
Yeah.
Nobody watching this and then subsequently going and watching the matches back is getting anything for the first time here. But I don't think that's the point.
Yeah. What song would you pick?
I was really good because I think it plays to the romance that Kenny Omega injected into these matches.
It's got a bit of sweet quality, that song, as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. Like, it plays to, like,
which this rematch potentially does.
Ibushi factoring into the 4th one in particular, and Omega's I don't know, I was trying to think of something that played with Omega's failure to hit the One-Winged Angel in the first match, and like I was trying to think, I couldn't like think of something that is all about how you can never quite get it done, where that's like a love or whatever it is, you can't get it done, and ABBA is so great for that. Like, what's the name of the game? It's got that, like, just that looping bass riff at the beginning that then builds and builds and builds and builds, and it builds to him finally hitting the One-Winged Angel in the 3rd match and getting him and pinning him for the first time. That would be where, like, the chorus burst in life. You sold me on ABBA. All I'm thinking of is ABBA songs.
Well, that's lame. I'm going to go with Metallica for 2 reasons.
All right, Triple H.
Well. That is precisely...
I hate Metallica and wrestling. I hate it.
Well, that is precisely at the core of my thought process here. One, I'm banging a thrash phase at the minute. Big thrashy doom death metal phase. Just am. Eye of the Beholder potentially from And Justice for All, but it's just because I'm loving that riff at the moment. But I think genuinely to like the best video packages have got that marriage of like sound and vision, you know?
Sound and vision. Let's go for that.
Let's go for that as well. Second package. But
enjoyed that.
Battery by Metallica. One, Levesque will be absolutely seething. And this, in fact, is such an unbelievable idea to just really annoy Triple H as part of this wider war where Tony Khan's playing some chess at the minute of like, it's count. I don't care if you count the programmers. Yeah, you can sign Rusev. You can sign Aleister Black. What are you going to do with him? Have him almost exclusively not take pins in multi-man matches?
Good luck.
Good luck. Who's going to want to watch that?
Yeah.
God damn it. And he's going to then sort of encourage Paul into making more dumb strategic errors, more self-owns, just gently guide Paul Levesque.
I do like that.
Into just like really getting gotten to. And when historically, you'll know as well as I do that the year 2000, when Paul Levesque gets gotten to, that's when it all starts to really go wrong from the highest of heights.
Yeah.
The more he starts to get gotten to is when it just starts to go badly wrong. How could you get at him more, Levesque, than, I'll have Metallica on my TV show? It'll be livid because there's been a conspicuous absence of Metallica over the last however many years because this idea of this Renaissance era under Levesque, glossy, mass appeal, like it's more like sort of hip-hoppy and poppy, the music palette of main roster WWE. Like I don't think the people who go to the art house in the cinema and like want to feel big and glamorous, like it just, Metallica's no longer a fit. But it's a fit for
He's taking good advice, isn't he, about courting youth rather than worrying about his own
he said himself.
dated music tastes.
He said himself, like, that this WWE, if I'm booking it for my taste, no one would like it.
Yeah.
So that's because he's doing it very cynically and without passion for me. But I digress. Not only would it annoy Levesque, like really piss him off. And if you're Tony Khan, you kind of want to piss this guy off because when he's gotten to, he's gotten to. But I think Battery in particular captures like that, the epic histrionics of the Okada Omega series and just how fast and blistering and technically precise the series was. I think it's a really good soundtrack for it. Like, so it's got the acoustic opening, which you can play footage of like the entrances and them coming nose to nose and those sort of like struggle, intricate grapples. And then it's got the symphonic almost, my voice is going. And then as soon as that pounding fast riff comes to the fore, that's when he can do like the Snapdragon from the top rope, the back body drop through the table to the outside, like that moonsault over the guardrail.
You're speaking my language, by the way, because I literally watched match 1 while I was off sick last week.
It's
just trapped myself.
It's absolutely unbelievable, isn't it?
It's incredible. It's not aged a day.
That, in fact, it is so good that we try not to bury him too much. 1, we respect him. 2, we wouldn't be here without him. 3, we aggregate his work constantly. But Dave Meltzer needs to go back and watch it and go, I have been worked by everything that's sought to follow it.
Yeah.
Because it's a masterpiece.
I haven't yet I'm going to watch the whole series, but I sense with 1 and 4 in particular, I wish you could put the genie back in the bottle and be like, oh, right, they're 5. Thank you for reminding me what the ceiling is. Well done. Yeah. I didn't need to go 5 1/4. They're 5.
Yeah.
What was a 5 is a 5. They're 5.
Can you imagine like Total Film going, oh, well, hang on. Yeah, like Mean Streets and The Godfather and Last Picture Show. They were all like 5 out of 5. But my God, I've just watched There Will Be Blood. That's 6.
What
now? Imagine anyone else doing that
yeah.
ever in the history of criticism. It's just, it wouldn't be here without Dave. Would not be here without Dave. Battery for me. But I mean, that first Omega Okada match, like, it is the pinnacle. Yeah. The pinnacle. Like, that.
The only thing I will say is like the way Kenny in particular moves. I'm trying to measure because that guy's a lightning bolt.
So, yeah, he can't do that no more.
I don't know how much he can do that no more.
Cannot do that no more. So if you want...
Sorry, I've got a suggestion.
Okay.
Have you considered impenetrable anime video game music? Because Kenny Omega considers it every day.
Yes.
It could be something that we don't know at all that like isn't for us, but then suddenly kind of surprises us with some big flourish. And if nothing else, we'll end on the shot of the Okada dollar bill thing on the stage, looking down at Kenny holding the belt, a gorgeous shot. Like those big, grand, sweeping orchestral things that suck ass as entrance music. Can we just say it?
I'm starting to get it.
God damn, they suck ass.
I'm the outlier here. Oh, my God. I like it. A lot of people are.
I think those...
I get it. I'm a mark. And I'm wrong, but I quite like it.
I think they can age well in something like a video package.
Yeah.
Because you will allow a bit more space and the music's got a bit of chance to breathe and it's all about the rises and falls within the song and the footage of the matches. I don't have as much of a problem with it there. And if you're indulging something Kenny Omega likes,
it
makes it all the more of a passion project, which is what all of this is. The most passion he's ever had anything for, and presumably will, all in.
Before we get to talking about the actual contract signing, of which I have some very scary thoughts, I don't know Omega's taste in anime. In fact, I've watched about 3 animes in my entire life, right? Have you ever watched Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Massive fan.
Okay, you haven't.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
The theme, it's like famously just amazing. It's like
Okay.
a little bop as well at the same time. It doesn't fit at all. It would just be cool to hear
Because you know it. It's
on
what you know.
AEW TV, and it's like an incredible theme.
I appreciate you asking me that with just enough respect that I might have said, yes, actually.
Everyone saw Akira.
Yeah, I've seen Akira Tozawa. No, I'm being flippant. I have seen it. I didn't like it, but I've watched it.
Okay. Right. Anyway, so I'm trying not to go too in depth here because I'm very wary as the weeks recede and All In, emerges, that I'm just going to say the exact same thing all the time in this podcast. By the way, do you know that the first earnest Rainmaker pose in that match, when Okada really means it, it's going to tear the roof off the place? Just every single week, I'm telling you, it's going to happen, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm reluctant to do that. If you want extended thoughts on how I think the story should go for Omega Okada, check out our most recent Q&A podcast. I believe it dropped on Saturday. No, Tuesday, Monday, earlier this week.
All the days.
You don't have to scroll too far into your feeds to find it, so I'll keep it very brief. The idea that Omega needs to find it within himself and go on this epic 18-month quest to get into the peak physical condition and state of emotional healing, like he did at Dominion 2018, to finally dethrone this Kazuchika Okada. I ain't gonna buy it this time around. I'm not, because in fiction, Okada's still that guy, air quotes used, because he's the Continental Champion and he's had it for well over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's undefeated or never been pinned in AEW. And it doesn't feel the same. And if they pretend it's going to feel the same, I'm just going to start thinking, retread. I think Kenny Omega needs to channel the guy who cut that promo on Jon Moxley when the match was initially postponed from All In 2019 and just go on the attack. Go on the attack. It's like, who am I even fighting anymore? Like, I'm levels above you. I've had diverticulitis. What's your excuse for not being the Okada of old? Just go on the aggressive attack, because that era of Kenny and that version of Kenny, like the New Japan press conference Kenny, that check, you got a boo-boo on your elbow. That version of Kenny, the Donovan dickhead. I need to see that Kenny. I need to see him be the aggressor, the guy with the confidence, that's sort of aloof. I'm just better than all of you morons put together. I need that version of Kenny. I don't want the bleeding heart. Can I still do this, Kenny? Because I don't buy that story. I'll get your thoughts in a minute. I'm going to express one more anxious thought, and that is Kenny Omega in the domain of live TV with a live microphone sometimes doesn't go particularly well. I'm a bit worried about that aspect of this. Are you?
No, but there really is this sort of magic ring around Omega Okada and everything they do.
You think it's can't fail?
Yeah. Every time they're on screen together, maybe this is just an isolated experience for those that feel this way, because I know plenty do. I know this is not just me, but I also know that a lot of people are approaching with caution here and are worried about the seeming impossibility that this can live up to expectations. It's funny that Mercedes said we're going to have the best women's match ever, because they are saying this without saying it. We're going to show you a version of the best match ever.
Yeah.
With this, you're promoting the same thing effectively, but they don't need to say it out loud because they've had it. They've had at least 2 examples of what people consider the best match ever. That's the pressure. That's the bar. And people have every right, just as much as people are reasonable to say they cannot do it in 2025. People have just as much right to say, yes, they can and they will. Actually, they're going to confound expectations. I saw a comparison that I thought was quite a good one to, because the time frame is about the same and the legacy is very similar, to this Spring Stampede 94 match between Steamboat and Flair. And what a loving...
Ibu, I think.
Was it Ibu? Yeah. Shout out Ibu if that was you. A loving piece of work that was special in its own way, without being the 89 trilogy
Yeah.
or the ones on the house show that Flair and Steamboat say were even better wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like, they all do it, don't they?
Landover.
They just like to be on top of us. It's like, you thought that WrestleMania 10 was good. You should have seen Shawn and Razor on the houses. Well, how the could I have seen that? Like, I saw the one that everybody saw. Yeah, I know. Like, it winds me up. It's just wrestlers want to be better than us. Like,
Oh, I hate them.
yeah. Well, anyway, like, the Omega Okada thing, I don't have a lot of concern over, is the point. I don't have a lot of concern over it.
Can I swear on these now?
I probably shouldn't have done, but I got myself wound up. Yeah, you can treat yourself because I did that. That'd be unfair.
Maybe later on in the...
If there's a wanna coming, or you need it in NXT, I guess. Actually, no, do it in this one because I won't have the time to clip it.
Yeah.
We'll want to tell us off.
Did you do a swear there?
I did a swear there.
All right.
I got the timestamp. It's all right.
Okay.
I'll do a terrible job of clipping it as well.
Yeah, you will.
The Kenny Omega being that Kenny Omega is something I'm excited by. And I have, as a compliment to that, the heavy heat response from Okada.
Bitch.
Better, if you can believe it. He beats him up so bad that go home, maybe the week before, who knows? Kenny Omega vomits blood.
Oh.
Not a juice, but a juice. Like, he attacks his stomach so aggressively that Kenny Omega vomits blood in the ring, and it's like, there's your divo, pal. That's the Okada you wanted. Like, you asked for this.
I like it.
You asked for this. I'm giving you it. It's
Genuinely like that.
Same but different of the heavy heat.
Anything involving blood, and I'm absolutely loving it. So I just worry about Kenny with a live mic. He's my goat, but I do worry about that.
Could they? You know, they've said contract signing.
Yes.
Could they, rather than it being in ring, do the New Japan podium presentation? G1, but just with two of them.
It's
Or would it be
always
too much to look at on a screen.
one. I think the idea of Kenny appearing live as a ticket selling deal. Two, it never looks good in the context of AEW when they pretend there's some kind of press presence.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's fake. So I don't want to see that. What I do want to see is an incredible prospect on paper. Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland 2, a match that very much warrants the Roman numerals treatment. The original match that they had in AEW anyway at Forbidden Door last year was just typically absolutely incredible with this scintillating layers of drama in that finishing sequence. This is an interesting proposition because the idea is that Will is kind of desperate for AEW to be great again. I have my problems with the wider outline of that thing, as I have done for the year, but as I mentioned on the review last week, if anyone can get the stuff over, it's Ospreay, who so obviously loves it and wants it. Swerve is not so much bothered about that. He kind of just wants the title. Good. I don't want a gang of mascots, you know? But at the same time, he probably realizes, no, if we want to all compete for that title on the grander stages in a fair competition without Wheeler Yuta getting involved or whatever, at some point we're going to have to just deal with that issue together and then stop kicking each other's ass for checks and championships and all the rest of it. So because they've acknowledged the truth, the actual reality that Swerve and Ospreay are like really close friends in real life and they've shadowed each other throughout their career, but something has got between them here. This is going to be, I expect, a pretty nasty competitive match where there's the odd, like, get a deliberate potato thrown in. Get a deliberate potato thrown in. Something where it's like, bloody hell. And then, oh my God, the receipts happened. And then it can mutate into something like really violent. And then he can justify AEW's new fondness for like back suplexes on the barricade and stuff like that. Some really wicked head drops and the like. This is one of those matches where this is the only problem at this point with Will Ospreay as a professional wrestler, in that he is an unbelievable promo, that rare, authentic. I believe the person I'm watching is just doing this, not practicing in the mirror.
Yeah.
Not faithfully reproducing something his boss or their boss wants. Just a guy who's doing his own thing as himself authentically. The only issue is that you see this graphic, you recall the first match that they had together in AEW, and if you watch this and it's story-driven, or it has the audacity to go a bit slow, or has the audacity to not be amazing within 5 minutes, you're going to think, oh, God, 4.5 stars, eh?
Yeah.
That's the Ospreay problem at this point, and there's only one of them. I think this match will completely live up to expectations. Ospreay Takeshita 2 is evidence that he can go on TV and do the business again. In terms of the finish, they might go to a double Debbie Deeks, which if your brain isn't broken like
Deeks.
ours, just means a disqualification.
How would they all know that? Like we've said, Debbie Deeks, it's like it's in the glossary of terms.
The glossary's too big. We've forgotten our own glossary, mate.
It's not our glossary, it's the wrestling glossary. I've been saying Debbie Deeks for decades. Decades of Debbie Deeks.
Okay. Do the Young Bucks interfere? Is it as easy as that? Interfere, the match gets thrown out.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because it did cross my mind, and it would be the grossest of Debbie Deeks, but in a way that builds the match that feels like it's on the horizon.
You'd like to think peak AEW wouldn't make it that simple.
Well, to that point, I pitched something last week and it didn't happen, and I pitched it specifically because they've got 4 hours of TV to film.
Ugh.
60-minute draw, 5 more minutes, mate, bruv. And then the Young Bucks screw it up in the 5-minute overtime.
Oh, that's a bit 2020 NXT pill, that.
But you've then had a lot of what you love, which is the epic stuff. You've got Swerve kicking out a one off a buckshot attempt. You feel me? You've got like...
Such a cynical bastard.
But good though, isn't it?
That would be really good.
Swerve
It's just a delivery.
All right, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. You're earnest.
Yeah, I'm earnest, but I'm feeling pretty cynical. I'm somewhere near at you on not totally wanting this. Like, I want to watch the match. I do.
We were talking about this
I'm trying to articulate my measured excitement.
We were talking about this in the office where... Please don't hurt me. Sacrilege corner. I wanted it to be Ospreay versus Mox because we haven't really seen it in AEW. Hangman, Swerve, the reunion is all incised. I don't know. I don't know if this is the way in to Ospreay and Swerve being at all in.
The problem with whomever leaked the news that Ospreay and Hangman didn't want to win, of which there was many problems I felt, but one of the problems with that news, other than
you know how this has just been brought up. You know, CM Punk has talked about how he likes to lose more often than he wins these days.
I don't like hearing that.
Good.
I felt, and I said this on the podcast at the time, Mr. Love the dub. I said this at the time.
Mr. really likes the dub.
There might have been, it's a fair correction. There might have been a actual attempt to play to the. What's the phrase? It's falling out of my head. Basically, play to your core base here, which is
freakazoids.
Yeah,
the AEW sexuals.
The freakazoids and the AEW sexuals would rather know that it's harmonious.
That's what they're called.
They would rather know it's harmonious amongst these wrestlers and think of it as this competitive Shark Tank. They feel like that's errantly, in my opinion, the AEW is this like thing to protect. Like, for it to be successful is for it to be nice. And I don't believe that, and I've never believed it, and I'm sorry, but I don't care about any of that. But maybe that was the move on, like, Will Ospreay, this guy that people have, like, really fallen for earnestly, like Hangman Page, the beating heart, the main character, the blue sky gardener. Like, they want... No, I'm not saying that. They want nice. Like, if they think a core fan base believes AEW to be nice, then that's the AEW that can be successful.
Yes.
Like... It plays into this idea that there's like WWE's evil empire and AEW's a nice place. And maybe that was like a really smart bit of leaking to get that out. But the problem that creates is that when we're talking about, well, should Ospreay have been the play going into the Moxley match at All In? Like, you want to think, because they've got this cool, long-standing idea with Ospreay and Swerve. But do they? Because week of... There was like plan A, plan B.
Yeah.
And you don't know like how far back this tracks. I'd like to think that this Ospreay Swerve detail is a perfect way to kind of put something else in the middle of Hangman and Mox. But then a couple of weeks ago, maybe Ospreay was going to win.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't. How much of this is they're kind of having to tell as they go?
Yeah.
It's that for me was the issue with that leak.
No, I get it. So you are dim on the prospect of a almost guaranteed great match. Breaking news. What do you think the finish is?
60-minute draw.
60-minute. Do you actually think it's
60-minute draw? I like.
There's only 3 matches on the announced lineup so far that feel Dynamite. And we're going to speed round what I've seen has been announced for Collision. And there's 3, so your thoughts might not be incorrect.
I'd like to watch it as well. I think it'd be really good. Ospreay has great 60-minute matches, like Swerve in that environment, like willing to, like the story you could tell off the back of Swerve, willing to go an hour trying to beat his mate to make a point that he shouldn't be friendly with Hangman Page.
Yeah,
There's
I like that. I do like that a lot.
Element of it, like Swerve and Hangman's a tree. They've been the tree since that story started. Divisive as it was when Swerve broke into his house, we didn't know it then because it was merely a seed. The seed has grown into a tree, and AEW has grown back with it, and that story continues.
Forest.
Yes, the tree was enough. Like Roman Reigns is a tree. Yeah. We only ever need a tree. We don't even need a forest. The more trees you build, the more it can just burn down. Look what's happening.
So you think it's a 60-minute draw?
60-minute draw, but the Swerve Hangman stuff remains the beating heart of even Hangman's title win.
Yeah.
People were loving, rightfully so. By the
Swerve nod at All In's going to hit
massive.
Yeah.
Like people rightfully were making the comparison because AEW invited you to make it of the difference between Hangman Page walking up the ramp after he beat Swerve in the cage and walking up the ramp after he beat Ospreay. Like there is a man almost redeemed, but it cannot count until he's sorted things with Swerve.
Yeah.
It's not even the belt. Ospreay wants to save the belt more than Ospreay's Cody and the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like he's both.
Yeah.
Hangman's Hangman Page.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it would actually be in good service to the story, and I don't mind the Debbie Deeks. I don't mind the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
I can visualize the troll interference and rubbish getting thrown in the ring at the Young Bucks and the Young Bucks gurning towards the fans over it. I quite like that as a scene if you're going to book this tag match.
I mean, the tag match will be great.
Yeah.
The odd issue with the build aside. Now, there's one thing to preview that I'm genuinely quite excited about. The rest of the summer blockbuster, well, let's say it's more like Wild Wild West than, something that succeeded at the box office. But we'll get to that. First, let's tackle...
And Thekla's on the card later on. She's a spider.
Yeah, she's a spider. I never saw Wild Wild West.
Me neither. I only know it through the excellent song and video.
Yeah, the idea that, that was a bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cartman saying like Big Metal Spider.
Yeah.
Episode.
Timeless Toni Storm is going to wrestle and inevitably defeat Julia Hart. Mercedes Moné is going to be on commentary. I've got a little game to play. Right. But before we get to that, I'm just going to very briefly say Julia Hart apparently came in for a lot of criticism online, but like targeted personal criticism, which I'm not a fan of. Like, I'm not going to tag her in this podcast, and it's designed to, praise, criticize, provide insight into whatever. I will just say that I have minimal expectations for the quality of this match because I simply no longer post House of Black by Julia Hart playing the character she's playing. And as a result, I will find it hard to suspend my disbelief, take seriously this character. I don't think the ring work has been particularly great after some real promising performances when she was on the come up. I'm leaving it at that. It's probably going to go 8 to 10 minutes. It's probably going to get gobbled by a commercial break. Toni Storm is going to win. Thoughts on the match before we play a game?
Did this Julia Hart thing pick up a bit of steam? Is that why you're addressing that? Like, was there a...
I saw it on Twitter. I don't want to be like personal. I mean, she's probably being told, oh, well, you're spooky. You still got the mist, if you recall back in the specific date. You got misted, therefore you're still feeling the effects. It's Tony Khan problem.
Well, because what I was going to say was, if that's reached Julia Hart, it's reached the wrestlers... Could this match exist? Is Toni Storm doing a bit of a Becky Lynch thing here? And it's like, let's go out and show them.
I mean, I hope so.
The locker room leader, the veteran, the one who's having the good matches with everybody. Like, we can make this make sense. So we've got an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Anthony, give me my match. Like, and I want to help Julia Hart, and I want her to be able to have a match that's going to push back the critics. And Toni Storm, as a gesture of goodwill, because she can prove herself anytime she wants. Could that be why this is happening?
I think it's happening because they feel the need to do their spreadsheet booking until they have hopefully better ideas in the weeks before All In. And one spreadsheet idea is star who's inevitably going to win versus person who exclusively exists to lose. and it's just spreadsheet booking, in my opinion. I hope to be surprised. Very, very quick before we play the game, vibe check. AEW Summer Blockbuster emanates from Theater of the Clouds.
Love that. You got anything on that?
Theater of the Clits at Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. Tickets distributed at last count. There's way more walking-ups these days.
If you can find it, of course.
Indeed.
No, that's good stuff.
It's all good.
I can and I have, yeah?
Sorry, one more
I
time.
can and I have.
Yeah, of course you have. What's good?
Well, I think this number's probably a little bit slippery and elusive because it's about 4 or 5 days out of date from the last Wrestle Takes Post. And that was at 2,921.
121.
Oh, it's all gone wrong. We were doing so well.
2,911.
Yeah.
The current setup for Theatre of the Clits is 3,725.
Remember, if you need the police, the ambulance, the fire service, call 911.
3,000.
That'll be straight on. That'll be straight around.
3,724. There was 813 available tickets left. And here's a note. The venue capacity is 6,500. And I've been looking this up on the Wikipedia.
The little man in the north.
And this is an interesting... this is an interesting insight, if true, it is Wikipedia after all, into... potential finding these beautiful looking venues. But are we going to get scared about the capacities? For smaller, more intimate events, Moda Center can be placed into a configuration known as the Theater of the Clits. This configuration, part of a trend of large arenas having smaller theater configurations, places the stage at center court and utilizes the western side of the arena. Now, this is good news where, you can just modify it to make it look smaller and more intimate without it just being Top City Jones. Mm-hmm. I suspect this is because post-Pando, there was this initial surge of, oh God, live stuff's back, let's go, 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 go. A lot of promoters have apparently really miscalculated the demand. And people just wanted to get out. And now there's been stories of like touring acts in the US. Like, I think it was the Black Keys did this big old arena tour and was selling like 2,000 tickets or whatever. Like, it's really gone downhill. So maybe in response to the fact that it's kind of crashed a lot of the live touring market. Right, okay, let's change the way we do the arenas. So basically, good news is that more intimacy is imminent. And
it's time to play the game! Time to play the game! Ha 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 ha!
Guess the food! Because Mercedes Money is providing commentary duties. Guess the food or guess the bit.
Where are they? Portland.
We don't do clits.
That's good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
Salmon.
Salmon.
You know what? I actually really like salmon, handsome producer Nicholas, because it's very much, right, this incredibly available, accessible food that used to have this sort of, if I recall, I don't recall, I wasn't born, but it was kind of posh, wasn't it, in the 70s? Ooh, salmon.
Posh.
Mm-hmm. I still consider it posh.
Okay.
It's delicious.
But like a heel pretending that it's posh and all the rest of it. Smoked salmon's disgusting. Normal salmon is delicious. It is delicious.
I was just looking there while you were talking about food. What the Portland...
That would be a heel thing, wouldn't it? Ooh, I've got posh salmon. It's like,
yeah,
it's not posh, but it's funny that you think it is.
Portland doesn't really have... And I'm going to alienate or annoy the people from Portland here. From what I can see from a cursory Google.
They're too hip to listen to bloody WhatCulture Wrestling in Portland, Oregon.
Good point.
They'll be listening to the bloody voices of wrestling.
On their bicycle.
I like Flagship. I think it's really good.
You do. The Portland, Oregon
They'll be watching Deadlock Pro. They won't be watching AEW in Portland.
Dynamite.
I'm surprised they've got bloody a gate at the Theatre of the Clits.
That's it, yeah. Portland, Oregon are definitely just watching clips of Deadlock. The film Flakes, I think, I know I would say this, was set in Portland. And I think, and it was so hipster, I believe it even starred Zooey Deschanel of that era, that they opened a cereal cafe because that's just those crazy Portlanders. You know, they don't give a damn. So Mercedes has some cereal delivered to watch Dynamite with. And I can, sort of recommend it. Dynamite and some cereal, it's a nice time. So she has some cereal, and then, like last week when Toni Storm ate the steak, the match spills out of the floor, and Mercedes ends up with bloody milk and cereal all over her head. Tips on her, I'm soaked. And then that's building the heat in it.
Yeah. Sorry, one second. Of course. On commentary, where are my manners, will be Mercedes.
Money.
That's her with the bowl of cereal on her head. Oh, no, milk.
No, it isn't, because I think, let's get some violence here. Let's get the first bit of interaction, a nice visual effect. You look like you're about to.
No, I was just thinking of something else from last week, but I want to come back to it. It's Mercedes food related. It's one, yeah.
Okay. What if she has a personal mixologist?
Okay.
With the nice looking the cocktail trolley that you see, which I've always fancied, but at the same time I like to keep a lot of my kit in the fridge.
Right.
You know what I mean? So putting room temperature tequila and stuff like that. I don't know about that, Paul. Anyway, but for the purposes of the angle, I've got one of those cocktail trolley gimmicks, and then the shaker and all the rest of it. So Mercedes is sipping on a nice, I don't know, watermelon margarita. Right, 'tis the season for that.
Okay.
But the cocktail shaker will eventually, when she starts taunting timeless cocktail shaker, boom, over the head. The ice is everywhere. And Mercedes is like, I can't see. God damn it. And she's just like, And then Toni Storm can get the cocktail trolley and just sort of send it flying into her gut.
Yep.
Haunched over Storm Zero on the floor to the outside. That's the post-match angle of guess the food.
And Julia Hart can make a black Russian and then spit it in Toni Storm's face like mist. But it's just a black Russian.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
I was thinking about, I watched Dynamite last week. I wasn't on the pod. I was very ill, but I watched it nonetheless. Maybe that was what made me ill. And I saw the old steak ski coming in for a bit of a kicking. I still would have eaten that. When Toni Storm takes when Toni Storm takes a bite out of it. I'd have had that.
Well, there was
saw a bunch of people.
I need a button. Keep talking.
I saw just a bunch of people online, Toni Storm, what's she doing there? And people criticize it. Just all right.
This is a tangent, really. So, what's your steak take?
I just said it. It was fine.
Okay, but in general, how do you like your steak prepared? Because this is a bit within a bit. Not that we do any bits.
No,
but it was steak take, but also it's don't hurt me. Sacrilege corner. I'm a fan of a medium rare goddamn steak. Goddamn it! I think when that ready pink bit starts to get too gelatinous, I'm like, nah, not for me. I like a blushing pink medium rare, but I know that's not the way people like it.
I'll take it as it comes. I think if you
blue,
yeah, because it's edible. I'll take it if I'm being served this thing that's supposed to be this way.
I go for the chef's recommendation.
Well done. Really, really, really well done. Burnt to a crisp is its own flavour, is its own texture. I can get on with that. I love burnt food if it's something that can still be edible while burnt. I'm not just saying that like
that fine point on toast.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Very fine line on toast.
Like, if you burn toast to the point where it's still, you're putting butter on it and that butter's just staying, like, bright white, like, on top of that burnt toast. Fantastic. Like, burnt
The bits on a wood-fired Neapolitan pizza, for example, on the crust.
Another great example.
Caramelization, burning, it is effective.
If you want to burn steak to a crisp, but you say this is how you're going to enjoy this steak, then it's got its own flavors. And say, I don't necessarily think I would, if we're getting a steak take specifically, I would probably just ask for...
So we'll go to the restaurant. How would you like your steak, sir? The onus is on you.
Have I ever been in that situation in my life? I don't think I have. But I would
Never
say...
eaten steak in a restaurant?
Didn't you and Adele go and get some steaks not that long
Get
ago?
some steak. Like, no, it was about 4 years ago. We had a voucher.
You never had steak in a restaurant?
I wouldn't order it. It'd be too expensive. Like, I wouldn't get enough out of it for how much I was expected to pay for it. Like, it's like 20 quid in the family food pubs. It's going to be only, extrapolate that, it's going to be double that in a proper place.
More like opt for the burger option.
Aye, yeah.
Theoretically, you're in a restaurant and the steak is the only thing that you like the look of, and you've won the lottery, mate.
I think you're a medium guy, mate.
Rare, medium rare, or like, burnt to a crisp just for the crack, like just for the fun of it. Right,
Okay. That brings...
I don't care. Yeah, I think steaks, it's meat. I think steak's really overrated, if I'm honest. Like,
That is a steak take.
Yeah, like, there's my steak take. Like, I think people are probably wasting their money. Like,
My kids eat it.
If you offered
That's
me a
an
steak
easy
sandwich and a
family
chicken
tea.
sandwich, right, and there was like a tenner difference between the two, I'm picking the chicken sandwich all day long.
See, my kids eat steak, so it's a good one to have, or a financially debilitating one to have. And that brings an end to...
Oh, no, one more. Can I have one more?
Yeah.
My dad used to buy, the stuff Eric Bischoff would sell, meat off a truck at the Sunday market. He would stand and he would watch the butchers with those little microphone clips, and he would just watch it like it was a spectator sport, and then he would have like a bag of meat, and there would obviously be some steak in there because it was getting thrown in for cheap, or it was like, I don't know, whatever the worst bit of the cow is. And we would have, is it braising steak?
Yes.
Like that. I'm into that.
What, in a stew?
Yeah. I don't know. What is that? Is it like cooked in like a gravy sort of thing? It's like, it's all just like soft and...
Yeah.
meat
You
and
cook it
juice
for a
or
long
whatever.
time.
I'd probably take it like that with some onions or something. Like, I don't need it on a... It's just meat. Like...
Okay, we're done here.
Answered.
Oh, sorry, I thought we had got yours last
No, I'm
week.
saying you asked him and he answered. He got his steak take.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at that.
This is very true.
It's like pressing the button, doesn't
There's one more thing.
One day, Paul Simon's going to have our eyes for that.
There's two more things actually I'm excited about. So let's just get some boring stuff out of the way. This is the collision lightning round. Everything needs
You don't have to do it.
I know.
Nobody ever said you had to announce every segment with a song or a noise.
It was something where I was like, the
It's
last...
Wilborn's ghost. It inhabits me.
There was this thing the other week where I was saying, like, there's something I want to be generous about, like AEW. I want like an AEW generosity corner here. And then you just like stop me down and be like, well, where's the jingle? Where's the announcement of it? It was like, I don't know, I just want to be generous about something. Come on, I was like,
You put corner at the end of it. We needed
it
noise.
was like, because I put a corner at the end of it.
I don't know why that is the sound. Who's going to win, Carl Fletcher or Anthony Bowens?
I'm thinking Fletcher.
Same. It'll be on Collision, hopefully, because again, I'm not staying up for 4 hours, and yeah, that's the end of that. Also, presumably Collision bound is TJ versus Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. Genuinely nice to see Tay Conti back because something was happening with her and then it didn't. Do you care who wins?
No, but it's going to be TJ.
You think?
Yeah. Like, they're back together and that, and nice. Harley Cameron.
See them in 6 weeks, every 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Harley Cameron's injured off the back of that last Penelope Ford.
I know. It was a
Ford
work.
match.
She's taking time off.
Ah. Well, there you go then. But like,
Yeah.
now they get to get the win as revenge for when they lost the other week.
So considering it's the need, I reckon this is going to go on Collision because that would, if it doesn't, it would be on. That would be 2 women's matches on Dynamite. The ladies' night this week, of course, with that Adam Wilborn here, the new part timer of WhatCulture Towers.
First one.
The new one, the second one. Maybe co-champions, if anything. Thekla versus Jamie Hayter.
I mean, if Thekla loses, she's dead. You might as well put a glass over her and flush it down the toilet. So
Exactly, but Hayter should lose, but at the same time, it means something. I like the booking of this.
It's committed. It's committed to Thekla. Do you know, I watched that Thekla match, it was not enough of out, and I think AEW let it down with its placement. Like
Should have been on Dynamite.
Yeah, the match wasn't this like. There were some people, I won't name them, that were readying me for this being a bit of a laughable disaster. And then,
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
I actually quite liked it.
And then there were some people that obviously were like super excited about it.
This is going to be the story of her career.
It was a bit of a bland middle, to be honest.
I love the way she moves.
Yeah.
Very dynamic. She's got presence and she's got great movement.
She was not helped by where they put this on a 4-hour TV. The fans were, the fans were tired.
It's a dub, they're winning.
I know, but like they were tired and she's a spider. You got to get them while they're excited. Maybe they should put this on Dynamite. But then that'll be the second match, wouldn't it? It's big. She's going to beat Jamie Hayter. They should put this on Dynamite.
Just trying to think of a jingle.
For what?
I don't know.
You don't even know.
Something like, what rhymes with the web? Is also being a bit sleepy.
Jesus Christ.
It's when the fans start to get, I don't know, the spider weaves its web.
Okay, right.
Something like that.
Right.
I'm so tired, man.
Could have gone for dead. Little half round.
Yeah, but assonance there. And when the fans are feeling dead, the spider weaves its web.
And the name of the game is the Spider's Night.
Right, okay.
I love this because like we definitely front loaded this with Insight when it was like Omega Okada.
And now
anyone that's still here is like, they've made it to Spider City Jones.
Yeah, Spider City Jones, everyone says that. But no, I am actually encouraged after an inauspicious start last week that they do see something in Thekla. I mean, it's such an indictment of AEW and not an undeserved one. If they are willing to go to the bother of running a graphic of a spider on screen for a woman, that's their version of investment.
Yeah, that's a push.
You know what I mean? That's a push.
She's getting a push.
Yeah, I will just put a spider on the screen, if anything.
Well, let's have a moment of insight here. What of Jamie Hayter? This is a big loss, and she's coming off the back of another big loss. That's a story, isn't it?
Yes, but then she can get a win.
A good story, I mean.
Yeah, it is a good story. Then it can culminate in a big win at Forbidden Door. And then what you've done there is you've presented Thekla as a big deal who's coming after a big scalp, who hits really hard and is stiff and kind of beloved in a lot of cult AEW circles. And Tekla's just came in and just dog walked her night 2.
Spider walked her
night 2. Jesus. Meantime, Thekla goes on to do other things. Maybe if Mercedes drops the TBS and there's a tournament, Tekla's a big contender. You've potentially done something with Thekla. Meanwhile, Jamie Hayter, sort of elevated by the British crowd, has a big night, and you've kind of done right by both women. But we'll see. This is AEW after all. The last thing that I saw on the socials that I've seen announced is something I'm really into here, and I'm combining two things at once. It's the Hurt Syndicate, comprised of Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MJF, taking on Speedball, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Komander. Also announced Mystico is returning. Here's the way I see it. I really like the arrangement because it's quite difficult we saw it with the first Forbidden Door. It's quite difficult to service multiple upcoming shows at once. Really like the idea of MJF, with how amazing he is as a live show, live act heel, up against the God of Arena Mexico, the biggest drawing card in Mexico of the century, Mystico. I mean, that's a furnace before they do a thing.
Is that next week?
The Arena Mexico show, yeah.
Excellent.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And MJF, disparaging Mexico, summons Komander, who already had a match scheduled, so it's not just this really contrived thing. There was a nice bit of flow to it. The Babyface squad defeat LFI, having kind of laid a claim to, we've got a tag team here who could go after the Hurt Syndicate. Go on, impress me, beat these that did. Hurt Syndicate a little bit like, we'll just put these in their place. That was actually a really good performance. Maybe we're a little bit sort of, unsettled by that. What if, I reckon, right, so I'm going to do the finish, perspective, match quality, and throw it to you. My idea for the finish is Mystico could go, piss off MGF. I'm going to interfere. And then that heats up the Arena Mexico match, because there will be an interaction between MJF and Mystico. Heats up that match, and at the same time gives Bailey and Kevin Knight a sort of Acclaim to have the tag team title match at All In. And that's the best babyface team in AEW right now. So that's sort of All In sized, more so than any other Hurt Syndicate match I can think of, because FTR are preoccupied as are the Bucks, you know? So that's what I think is going to happen finish-wise. On the perspective quality of the match, I think MJF is much needed. He knows he can make a fool of himself. He can show ass. He can scream. He can squeal in cowardice and go, "Osh," when he's about to take a back body drop. Cheat, cower, beg off. Be the vulnerable component of the Hurt Syndicate, which increasingly feels like they need it and don't want it themselves.
He's going to mock Speedball and pay for it.
Yes.
He's going to be great at that.
Crane kick, but he's going to get it in the face, all the rest of it. Like, it's going to be entertainment value.
Who is the douchebag from the Karate Kid? MJF, built to be that guy. What's the, the heel guy in the Karate Kid?
What's he called, man?
I don't know. I've never seen it, but I know.
No, it's one of my favorite freaking films. Johnny.
That's MJF. Like, I've seen the trailer to know that that guy's this jock asshole.
Yeah.
And MJF gets to be that to Speedball.
Yeah.
That'd be really, really
That's
fun.
his surname. It's Johnny.
Johnny Lawrence.
Johnny Lawrence, of course. Aye, that's going to be a great bit. MJF could take the pin here. Hurt Syndicate are like, what have we done here?
Yeah.
Tension, that's how stables in wrestling just go now. But then that builds an all-in match and the Arena Mexico match at the same time. And I think MJF's willingness and incredible ability to stooge and show ass is the missing piece of the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah.
So I'm all in favor of this.
You sort of sold me on this because I wasn't keen on much of it last week. And then you laid that out when we were talking about it over the desk. And I do like the overlap here was really nice. Really, really nice. And the match, Speedball and Kevin Knight, is the exact... wrestlers don't like that "you deserve it" chant, do they? They think like they want to say, "No, I earned it."
Yeah.
Speedball and Kevin Knight earned something. And it was hard to work out what that something was. And then the prospect of the tag title match might be the thing they've earned.
Yeah, they're both great. And I thought the trios match last week was great. I know you thought it was boring.
I did.
I know you did. It's hard to tell how good are you as a team? I know Mike Bailey's I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world at the minute. And I watch both promotions. It's always the Young Bucks factor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That match against the Young Bucks is phenomenal. Is that alone worth... I mean, it's catapulted them in the heart.
The Okada match was great.
Yeah, so I think Speedball, a bit more so than Kevin Knight, but there's an experience disparity there. But, I mean, the Young Bucks are just... If you want a babyface team that look like they can do the business, just have them wrestle the Young Bucks and then go on to wrestle the champions. And that maybe is what's happening here.
We've swapped approaches here a little bit because you're very much... You never relate particularly to my unending loyalty for acts, do you?
No.
You'll drop them like bad habits.
Flush.
I experienced that a bit last week, and I couldn't quite nail down why. And then we talked about that. I went off the Hurt Syndicate a bit last week, and maybe it had been happening quietly in the background, but it just felt like it happened all at once. I went off them. I found MVPs cutting through people.
It's awful.
Talk, off-putting rather than competitive pro wrestling-y kind of needling. Come on, keep up. I just got a bit put off by it. It's 1 week too often of this MVP having to win.
Yeah.
Everything. I didn't like it. And I didn't feel like I don't know. MJF had a more interesting thing to sell, perhaps, because I was already in the headspace of Arena Mexico and thinking
It's going to be awesome, that show.
Yeah, I was just lost in there, and then I was being brought back to what I was watching, and it was a bit bland, and I didn't feel like any of them were particularly projecting in the roles. It was the first week where I'd ever thought, typically we always do the same bit. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
For the first time, I was like, I think I can wait to see it. I'm not that arsed all of a sudden. Can we get to the bit where one turns on the other? I lost interest in several weeks of plotting that's clearly still to be done. And I don't know why that was, but I did. I just had this sort of, I don't know, I was really put off by here they come, the big bullies, the big baddies, ooh, and then the challenger match. And I even thought the baby faces got one over them in the post-match. I felt a bit like, that's a bit grabby, that. It's almost like a response to they never show any ass, and they've shown some ass, but it's because they win here and then everything's reset and whatever. And I don't know. I've not
sold your stock.
Yeah, I've not sold my stock or anything. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Like, all of a sudden, you know whose fault it is? It's bloody Aleister Black's fault.
No, it's this.
It's Malachi Black's fault, right? The creeping dread that a wrestler can arrive in AEW and potentially get bored with what it has to offer hangs heavy in the titty of almost every wrestler. And I think I just had it all at once with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP. Like, and why? Because they're the champions. They're locked in. This is an act that MVP wanted to get off in WWE and couldn't.
Yeah.
Like,
they all seem to be having a lot of fun with it, except MVP.
Yeah.
I get that impression. I think he might have thought he was going to be...
Is he fancying owning a locker room? And he's using his time on air to try and do that.
I don't know. I just think that this... In recent weeks, and I think we might have been the first to point it out, his talking over people, it's getting real conspicuous. And I don't know, maybe he just thought this wasn't what it was advertised in the brochure. Seems like he's got a stick in his ass. MVP.
And with this so familiar, this stick in their ass wasn't what we were promised deal. Like, it's so familiar at this point that it just gives you that, like, oh, nah.
Yeah.
Not another one.
I
Like,
know, but I think it's a different Tony, but we'll see.
Not another Miro.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Like,
great.
3 years of nothing and disagreements.
Yeah.
Not even like, like, I use Punk as the standard because, like, Brawl Out's like an all-timer pro. At least you got something to look at.
Yeah.
Like, Miro just disappears on TV or doesn't get booked or Malachi Black doesn't do jobs or whatever. It's just, that's the worst version of it, you know? Like, it's disruption without the sense of a disruptor.
Yeah.
Like,
I think MGF is incredibly well slotted here to be the vulnerability that the Hurt Syndicate need to be a functioning act, because those pay-per-view matches were just kind of like boring, prolonged, fatty squashes for me.
they've not got it right yet, I don't
in the
think.
ring. But I think it starts tonight. Genuinely, I think it starts tonight. Let us know if you are starting to get cynical about the Hurt Syndicate, or you think MGF might in fact be the magic ingredient, in the comments below, or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Whilst you're there, you can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me at Sidgwick, of course. Coming up later today is the NXT review in your feeds. Check it out, though. We'll make it funny. We will make it interesting. I promise you that mostly. Sorry. For God's sake, you can follow Adam Nicholas at...
It's Adam Nicholas.
Thank you very much for producing me, Adam Nicholas. Thank you very much for joining me, Michael Hamflett. Thank you very much, listeners, for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling for daily wrestling podcasts. NXT is coming up later, and we'll see you soon. Intros, outros are hard. Don't even know what they're called now.